just trust me on this.
Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Q-Files. This is a live broadcast, the 20th of April. The year, of course, is 2004. And you'll ask yourself, as I will, as we perceive the madness together, how many more years we'll be saying things like this, especially on the radio. Tonight I want to get right into the top and most important story of the day from my perspective, and that's the Russian defense minister has gone to China for a 3-day visit. Now, everyone, you know that Cheney was in the Far East and did a little meeting with the Chinese, and we also know that Kim Il-jung of North Korea was there, and I call him Pajama Man, and we know now that Ivanov is there. And for the record, most of you have probably lost track of this, but I want to refresh everyone's memory and pull this out of your memory banks, is that Russia and China have a mutual defense treaty and how should I say this, agreements that are known and unknown as to what their position will be to challenge the United States in its New World Order offering. I want to read this article because this is coming from Space War, and I think it's actually, they're just linked to it through agency, the French press agency. Russian Defense Minister Sergei Ivanov left Moscow Tuesday for a 3-day visit to China, during which he will meet with his Chinese counterpart, Chao Gangchuan. Ivanov will discuss Russo-Sino relations in the military technical sphere, including in the framework of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, according to the news agency, quoting the Defense Ministry statement. Quote, the two sides will also exchange opinions on the most important problems of international relations, including those that touch on security in Asia and the Pacific, it said. The SCO is a Central Asian anti-terrorism and trade grouping which comprises China and Russia plus former Soviet republics of Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, and Kyrgyzstan. It was formally set up in 2001 and grew out of efforts in the 1990s to strengthen confidence-building measures in the border regions and fight regional terrorism, religious extremism, and separatism. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this is kind of a, oh, so what? They're going to get together, and the good old boys are going to shoot the breeze, and Russians and Chinese are going to sit around, drinking cognac or vodka, whatever it might be, dressed in Chinese silk smocks and basically talking about the New World Order. I think it's more than that, everyone, and I think what we can see based on the fact that we've had Kim Jong-il there, and he's gone now, it's my belief. He was there for 4 days, and Russia immediately follows. I think the most curious events are always those told by who's going to see whom and when they initiate their meetings. And this is a big heads up. Again, your thoughts are welcome tonight. You can send me an email at steve777 at stevequayle.com. Some of you are still sending me emails to steve@safetrek.com, and that server gets so hacked. My new email isn't an in-house server any longer, so fortunately the people that monitor my server off my premise have a better job of keeping my email up. Some days, no kidding, I've got 900 to 1,200 emails, and percentage of it junk, viruses, you name it. So steve@safetrek.com will be no more, I think, as of Friday. So it's steve777 at stevequayle.com. Again, I want to share tonight that I think we are approaching the most bizarre period in history that has ever been. I just want to jump to the precious metals because I'm getting some emails right now. What's going on? Well, it's the V word, everyone, and that's volatility. Right now, there are people who are absolutely petrified of the fact that a lot of you, and congratulations to those of you who have taken physical delivery of the metals, the futures market is overwhelmed with, it was overwhelmed with people going long. In other words, betting the markets were going to go up. Today, again, just to give you an idea of where silver's at this point, silver's at 670 right now. Palladium's 315. Palladium and platinum have been holding up phenomenally, and gold's at about 394. Now, ladies and gentlemen, what this has done is it's flushed out the people that are speculators and who are just playing the futures market and not taking physical delivery. Again, the point is that you can do what you want to do, but I'm just telling you, the word volatility is going to get even more extreme. I can only share with you what I know, and everyone around the world is shaking their head. Now, what's happening, too, is that the price decrease in silver is on very little volume. I just checked before going on the air, and the amount of volume going on is just minuscule. So what this is doing is flushing all of the longs out, and someone, you mark my words, is waiting in there to come in at about 635 to 650 and just buy it out. Now, for those of you that snicker at where silver is now, just remember this. It pretty much doubled last year. It did double. And the point is that it moved from about 5.5 to 7.5 in a matter of 1 week. So the old adage is that in technical analysis, there are places that the silver and the gold market have to retrace to the point where they went ballistic. I don't know where it's going. All I can tell you is this, is they can play all they want with the numbers, and the central banks in Switzerland and France can talk about selling more gold, but the Asians are right there with their hand out buying everything. So this is the time where you just have to steel your nerves and just basically say, look, I'm in this for when the events take place that the markets go absolutely haywire. And for the record, the stock market was down 123 points today. The NASDAQ was down 41 points. And Greenspan's, what would I call, statement, I wonder what, like somebody said, I want to know what that guy was drinking today. And somebody said, man, it wasn't what he was drinking. It's what was he smoking in that boardroom. The point is that his announcement that the banking system is strong, very vital, fervent. I mean, again, I got to share this with you. If a man is that powerful that you hang on every word that he says, and certainly the markets do, then you've got to know that the people who know the true condition of the international banking situation are moving stealthily and very cleverly behind the scenes. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I even got some information that I think is fascinating, that Europe plans to tax gold at a new, the euro, the ECU is going to tax gold at a new high rate because they're expecting it to go through the roof, and the roof meaning $1,500 an ounce. Now, look, I don't know when that's going to happen. All I can tell you is this. Again, in Bozeman, Montana, what's your price of bread and milk and gasoline? Bozeman, and why this happens in Bozeman, I don't know, but we're at $2.04 a gallon for premium today. I think we're at about $1.99 for mid-range and about $1.94 for regular, $1.90, $1.94. Excuse me, $1.92, $1.94. So again, when I hear people calling me and saying, "Well, we're paying $1.86," I say, "Well, you should be very grateful because up north we're way higher than you are." But it's not just what we pay for gas or what we pay for eggs or what we pay for everything. If most of you would look back on your power bills and the energy bills that you pay, you're going to find out that there is such a phenomenal dislocation of the price from reality. In other words, you can't tell me that inflation, it cannot be figured into, or the inflationary index cannot take into account gasoline and heating. Look, maybe not in Arizona in the middle of summer, people don't worry about heating, but they sure have to worry about air conditioning. And it's amazing to me that we just don't get it yet. Now, I had a listener send me a very telling and a compelling update on what it's like in Chicago. I think he said to me that they have had no rain. And this gentleman is a farmer, and he said that, that the ground is already parched. Again, what madness we mortals embrace, and what sadness, the turn of events takes, because, again, I don't think people can recognize or even put two and two together yet. And I've given up trying to figure out what's going to get their attention, but I think I know where the Civil War is coming now. You know, it's amazing because a lot of people have tried to grasp this, where the Civil War would come. Would it come from the government making war on its people, from FEMA? All these different things have been out there, from Aztlan, the Mexican Reconquista movement. Would it come from the Chinese and the Nicaraguan or the revolutionaries, south of the border and north of the border, meaning Canada and Mexico? But I'm going to tell you this, it's obvious to me now that there has been a call that has gone out on a lot of the message boards about people who are coming to America on tourist visas to bring jihad, and they're talking about the jihad tourism season in America and in Europe. Now this is fascinating, because if you understand the full value and the full meaning of what I'm going to read you, I think it'll blow your mind. It's amazing to me, and this is courtesy of Laura Mansfield and Sean Osborne. I think they've worked together on this, and the other Lisa, L1. So this is kind of a combined story, and when you get those three together, I got news for you. I don't even want to try and calculate the IQ that's there, and their, how should I say this, amazing grasp of events. So kudos to Lisa, to Laura, and to Sean. Now here's what the proper translation is for everything that's out there, talking about the jihad tourism season in America and the European countries. Okay, now that's better. My understanding is that the writer wishes to coordinate a summer-long campaign against the West, which will bring a kind of sustained Armageddon to our neighborhoods. Jihad on tour throughout the West. The agent, FBI agent on Fox News, gave us a heads up on this, and I posted that interview on Doug's forum, the Northeast Intelligence Network, this morning. Like I said before, I think this is going to be a very hot summer. Our generation is being severely challenged by an implacable enemy who would praise his God if our cities disappeared in a radioactive mushroom cloud or in breezes of plagues and pestilence and chemical nightmares. And the M&M color of the day remains yellow. Now, that's what Sean Osborne wrote. Now, ladies and gentlemen, again, it's important that you understand that basically the jihad tourism has been declared. And I'll just read you parts of it, because I think it's important that you understand this, and I'll try and do it in such a way. But let's see. My brothers, the boldness of America on us and its occupation of our land, and its demonstration to the Jews regarding us are their hateful crimes. Europe refused the truth of the prince of the militants, Osama bin Laden, who requested nothing from them except that they cease their attacks on us. America's demonstration to us with the assassination by the Jews of the militant leaders in Hamas, one leader after another, are flagrant indications that this struggle has embraced a new level, an open opposite stage distant from all political maneuvers. Then these criminals no longer care about hiding their hostile intentions towards us as a nation. That appeared clear from their statements, and it's the last statements of the fool, the Italian minister, who threatened to deport thousands of the innocent Muslims and will deport them only because they believe in Islam. My brothers, we are at the front of a critical stage in the struggle with the ominous Roman alliance under America's command, and this encourages us to rely on the alliances with the unbelievers from Asia and South America. Now, I want to go on, because you've got to understand this. My brothers, if we do not know that we are at the beginning of a new stage in the confrontation, then what adaptations must we face? Many of us are prepared for the departure for Iraq or Afghanistan to confront this massacring barbarism against Islam and the Muslims. And this is a beautiful scent. But it displeases us that all the military activities result in a destruction that will affect us and our families, because the mill wheel of battle turns inside our lands and between our families. And we are obliged to confront them on our lands regardless of the results of the insistence of our fighting brothers presently in these occupied territories. Here's what he's saying is, we're forced to fight over here, the Americans, but you guys who live in America, it's time for you to do something. That's the bottom line in this. But my letter is to the brothers presently abroad in the United States. I'll fill that out. And they find it the arrival of this difficult. I beg them to immediately stop now with me so that we think together in a loud voice how we can benefit from each other. I believe, my brothers, so what is your opinion of the results that have been achieved practically only in Spain, not Iraq or Afghanistan. I doubt that you are disbelievers that its roots were strategic and that it had a big effect, that it dropped the political system, and that it made Europe reconsider its decisions once again, and that it stirred public opinion and so on. Now, it goes on in this thing. It's really long. It's posted on my website. But basically it says it's time to take it to America. And if Armageddon is what they want, then so be it. But we will transfer the Armageddon to them on their land and their sons. Now, okay, I'm talking about the Civil War. Here's what I'd like. Any of you who have any difference of opinion, and please, you're welcome to differ. What will be the trigger point in your opinion? I think this is going to be it. I think that, obviously, when the FBI has said this is going to be a summer of terror, it was one agent speaking who's an expert, and now we see basically everyone saying, get your passport, get your Falcon, head to the U.S., because we're going to stir up the goodies. I think that better puts into present tense for those of you who keep snickering, saying, oh, you guys all talk about terrorism, nothing's happening. Well, wait until you hear the story on the refinery fire in New Mexico, how absolutely cowardice, the absolute BS. I mean, no kidding. If they think we're this dumb, then we got to do something, ladies and gentlemen. We got to basically just cut off all support of ABC, NBC, CBS, and all the news networks that absolutely just think that you're a moron and that you love vomit, okay? Because, again, all they're doing is regurgitating facts. But let me get to this story first. And we're talking about Detroit. And I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right, but it's Hamtramck, 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 maybe that's it, will approve Muslim prayer to call. They say may, but at the end of it says they're going to approve it. Along with the Pierogi and Pazaki, Hamtramck may soon be known for its Islamic calls to worship. The City Council is expected today, that's April 20th, to pass a noise ordinance amendment permitting mosques to issue the traditional call to prayer over loudspeakers. It's another sign of change in this traditionally Polish community of 23,000, which has become a magnet for immigrants of all colors and creeds in recent years. For decades, Hamtramck has been predominantly Polish, but in recent years, store signs in Polish have been joined by signs written in Bengali and Arabic. Now, the request by the Bangladeshi Al-Islam Mosque for permission to air the Arabic call to prayer via loudspeakers 5 times a day has revealed tensions among the groups. Quote, they can believe whatever they want to, but I'm against them pushing their content into my head like brainwashing, said Joanne Golan, 68, a lifelong resident. There are 7 mosques in the city, and I'll be in the middle of all of them. The 5 daily calls to worship last about 2 minutes. The recorded calls are broadcast over loudspeakers at mosques in Dearborn, which has one of the largest concentration of Arab Americans in the country. I don't think people in the city of Hamtramck are going to be annoyed, said Imad Hamad. Well, of course not. Director of the American Arab Anti-Discrimination Committee based in Dearborn. It's not a loud noise. Though the calls to worship are in Arabic, Golan said she's offended by the words that praise Allah. Thank God for this lady. That's my 2 bits. He's not my true God, Golan said. I can stay locked in my house with cotton in my ears every time they do it. She said Hamtramck should live up to the freedom of religion and religious expression and celebrate our rich diversity and tolerance, Hamad said. Okay, what about the Christians, ladies and gentlemen? Let's go right at it. Let's go knife to the throat, because that's where they're going. Do you believe that any city in America would allow 5 times a day an annunciation for 2 minutes that Jesus is Lord and calling everyone to repent? How long do you think that would go on? And ladies and gentlemen, let's say it was even another language. Do you think in any place in America that would be tolerated? I don't. And the idea that church bells ring, I live in Bozeman. We got, I think the Episcopals have church bells, the Catholic Church has church bells, and maybe one other church, maybe the Presbyterian Church either has or had them. I can't tell you the last time I heard church bells ring in Bozeman, Montana. So, ladies and gentlemen, here is a story, and this is the real story. Throughout our destiny as a nation, we provided freedom for all who had come here. We only basically said, come here, carry your own weight, this is a great land, and we honored, and we really did honor God. Even the people of other beliefs came to America because they were persecuted in their own land. And let me share this with you. One question that maybe Shirley at Lampholder could answer, and Shirley, if you want to send me an email if you're listening to this, what happens when all of the infidels are dead? Then what's going to happen when you've got the different tribes of whether it's Sunni Islam or the Shias or the Shiites and whatever other groups have arisen? Then you know what happens, ladies and gentlemen? Simply what's always happened in history. They'll kill each other, and for that I reference Iraq and Iran fighting one of the bloodiest wars in the 20th century with millions of people killed, and most people in the United States and most people in the world just shrug it off. So, ladies and gentlemen, this will not allow itself to be shrugged off. So again, my statement simply is this. You really believe that if we went to this Hamtramck, and I apologize if I'm not pronouncing that right, the point is if we went to the City Commission and said, okay, we want to have every opposite hour a call to prayer for the faithful of the Lord Jesus Christ. You want to bet that they'd say, oh, you can't do that. That's separation of church and state. But now you've got a situation where the community that's predominantly Muslim is saying, well, we've got this passed through the City Commission, so therefore we're going to do it. Now, does anybody see an incredible anti-Christian bias? I hope to get to a story on the London Times or the Guardian where the guy is absolutely just mocking Christians and basically denigrating the Christian faith beyond anything. He's some pompous ass writer, and he thinks that the Christians are fair game. So, ladies and gentlemen, those of you who are Christians, those of you who are gifted communicators or writers, I would say this, arise to the challenge because most people don't get it yet. Now, how about this? My favorite kind of story. Italy seizes 8,000 Kalashnikovs headed to the U.S. A Kalashnikov is an AK-47. It is a semi-automatic weapon. It is euphemistically called an assault rifle. It is not an assault rifle. It's more correctly termed a battle rifle. But 8,000 of them, this is going to blow your mind. Italian customs officers seized more than 8,000 Kalashnikov assault rifles and other weapons on a ship headed to the United States, officials said Tuesday. The arms were worth about $7.15 million, and they were discovered aboard a ship arriving from Romania that pulled into the southern Italian port of Gioia Tauro on its way to the United States. Italy's customs said in a statement. By the way, Gioia Tauro, that port is it's probably the revolving door for terrorism into Europe, especially with shipping containers. I think if you'll remember the story about the lavish shipping container that was equipped like a small penthouse, and they intercepted it when they heard noises. The guy was living in there. He was a terrorist. He had fake IDs, and he had every ability to get into any airport in the United States, headed to the United States, and that story was dropped also. Remember this, ladies and gentlemen, only 2 to 3% of all shipping containers get looked at in the U.S. Now, I love this. We know that the destination was North America, but we don't effectively know if that's where the arms are going, a custom official told RAI State Television. The arms were found inside 3 containers during a routine customs check earlier this week. They were confiscated due to discrepancies in the custom forms, but the news was only made public Tuesday. The customs office said the weapons had been described as common guns instead of assault rifles and longer-range combat arms in the travel documentation. You tell me what was in that container, and I'll try and find out. When I say you tell me, that's I'm speaking obviously in the broadest sense. When I find out what's in those containers, my guess is they're going to have a lot more than just what we think. And so, if they're RPGs or whatever, but 8,000 Kalashnikovs. I told you about my friend. My friend's a very, very well-known songwriter in Nashville. And he was at the range, and he said the Middle Easterners drove up with their Kalashnikovs, opened up. Meanwhile, the imam, or the religious guy, was there with them and approving of what they did. He said, when they looked at me and I looked at them, he said to me point blank, my friend is very tall and big, okay? He said, Steve, you could see hatred beyond anything that you could even imagine or have ever experienced. So, again, Kalashnikovs headed to the U.S. Gee, I wonder who's training with Kalashnikovs. One of the neat things that Lisa and Laura have turned up and others with Northeast Intelligence Network is they have turned up a fabulous array of training documents for the terrorists on the website. Laura Mansfield has interpreted what's called El-Batar, and it comes out, I think, every week or every couple weeks, showing the terrorists how to build bombs, how to blow up this, how to blow up that, how to work this weapon, how to work that weapon, which weapons are good, which weapons are bad. And again, it's just an amazing thing. Now, when Doug Hagman went to Olean, New York to see the armory there, the very device that was hooked into the gas to blow up the armory was right out of one of the pages of Al-Batar. Which brings me to the next story. This one, I'm telling you, this one, if I could do backflips and scream and just go wild over this story, this has got to be the moronic story of the day. Listen to this. A board releases findings on refinery explosion. Now, this is the one that was in Gallup, New Mexico, that injured 6 workers. Listen to how short this is, and listen to how absolutely, how much contempt there is for common sense or reason. The U.S. Chemical Safety Board released its early findings on the refinery explosion in Gallup that injured 6 workers. In a preliminary report, the board said that the accident started when workers went to ready a recirculating pump for repairs. An investigation found one of the valves was left open, allowing gas to escape, which started the explosion. You're going to love this. You got to love this. Here is the best line that I have heard in 3 years. The board is reluctant to point to human error as the cause. Now, this is one of the areas that was notified, ladies and gentlemen, that they were a terrorist target. The board is reluctant to point to human error as a cause. Investigators plan on conducting a thorough root cause investigation and will issue further safety recommendations. There it goes, everyone. You are dumb, I am dumb, we are dumb, and they just specifically expect us to swallow horse manure, I guess in either little gulps or big gulps, but needless to say,